Hey there, global economy enthusiasts. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we've got some huge news that's been making waves across the Atlantic. We're talking about the freshly inked massive trade agreement between the United States and the European Union. This isn't just another headline. It's a game changer for businesses, consumers, and the entire global trade landscape. Visual, text overlay, US-EU trade deal. The big picture after months of intense negotiations, often behind closed doors. The US and the EU have finally shaken hands on a significant trade deal. Imagine this, the EU is now looking at a widespread 15% tariff on many of its exports headed to the US. This is a big step up from the temporary 10% tariff we saw before, though thankfully it's half of the eye-watering 30% that was once threatened. Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, even called this the biggest trade agreement ever. Pretty bold claim, right? Let's dive into the nitty-gritty of what this actually means. Visual, infographic showing 15 tariff and no-tariff exceptions with product icons about those tariffs. While 15% is the new general rule, there are some very interesting exceptions. If you're in the business of airplanes and their parts, certain chemicals, generic medicines, semiconductor equipment, or specific agricultural products excluding sensitive ones like beef, rice, or poultry, you're looking at a sweet 0% tariff. That's right, completely tariff-free. This list is actually quite flexible and more products could be added down the line. It's important to remember that existing sector-specific tariffs, like the 50% on steel and aluminum, are still in place, but they don't get added on top of this new 15%. And for car enthusiasts, good news, the tariff on cars has actually dropped from 27.5% down to this new 15% rate. That's a significant cut. Visual, graphics depicting money flowing, possibly a US map and EU map with arrows. Now, you might be wondering, what did the EU give up to get this deal done? Well, they've made some pretty substantial commitments. First, there's a pledge to invest a whopping $600 billion in the US. While this is more of an expectation from the private sector than a government guarantee, it's still a huge number. Second, and perhaps even more strategically important, is their commitment to purchase $750 billion worth of US energy products, think liquefied natural gas and nuclear fuels, over the next 3 years. This is a clear move by the EU to lessen its reliance on Russian energy, a major geopolitical shift. Plus, there are some less defined promises about buying more US microchips and military equipment, and a general agreement to open up EU markets even further to American imports. Visual, split screen, one side showing a struggling European business, the other a thriving US business. Or scales balancing trade. So, what's the big picture here? The 15% tariff is seen as a major concession from the EU. The US clearly aims to reduce its trade deficit with the EU through this agreement. While the EU will certainly feel an economic impact, those tariff-free categories, like pharmaceuticals, are crucial for them. Did you know the EU supplies most of the US's pharmaceutical ingredients? This deal provides stability and predictability for businesses, especially for car manufacturers who were staring down the barrel of much higher tariffs. The EU agreed to this, in part due to the US's strong negotiating position and the need for a stable trade environment. Interestingly, some analysts even suggest that EU car manufacturers might remain competitive even with the 15% tariff, considering the existing US tariffs on components like steel and aluminum used in domestic production. Visual, roadblock, or a puzzle piece graphic representing challenges, but hold on, it's not all smooth sailing from here. There are still some speed bumps ahead. Individual EU member states still need to approve this agreement, and that could be tricky, especially if it's seen as conflicting with WTO rules. Also, a formal written agreement is still pending, and wouldn't you know it, interpretations of the deal are already differing. Plus, the US is conducting other investigations under Section 232 into categories like timber, copper, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals. This could lead to more sector-specific tariffs down the line, although they wouldn't exceed the new 15% broad tariff. It's worth noting this deal follows similar agreements the US has struck with countries like the UK, Japan, Indonesia, and Vietnam, showing a clear pattern in US trade policy. Visual, recap screen with key takeaways, call to action. So, while this US-EU trade deal is certainly a major breakthrough, it's clear there are still many details to be ironed out and potential challenges on the horizon. It's a complex world of international trade, but hopefully, this breakdown has helped you understand the ins and outs of this significant development. What do you think about this deal? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world of economics and global affairs. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.